What up, everybody? Welcome back to Live Good, Feel Better, the podcast where we talk about health in a way that's practical, honest, and actually doable. My name is Joshua Gibson, a believer, husband, father, rapper, business owner, health enthusiast, and now, in season 2, officially a podcast host. Look around here, y'all. We focus on simple habits and real conversations that help us grow physically, mentally, spiritually, and financially. But I want y'all to keep in mind, this is not about perfection, but it is about progress, taking steps forward to improve every single day. Our scripture for season 2 is Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, which is trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean into your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge him and he will direct your path. That's the energy that we are carrying into this season, trusting God, staying consistent, and figuring it out one step at a time. Now, with that being said, let's get into the guest for this week. Today's guest is someone who has spent decades understanding the relationship between what we eat, how we live, and the choices we make for our future. She's a food scientist with more than 30 years of experience, but what makes her story interesting is that what we call wellness trends are just a way of life for her. She eats a plant-forward diet, meal preps, and naturally eats once a day, a practice we call intermittent fasting, but for her, it goes all the way back to how she was raised. But physical health is not the only part of her story. She's been married for more than 20 years, invested in real estate, and made financial decisions that allowed her to retire at just 50 years old. But as you'll hear today, retirement definitely has not meant sitting around doing nothing. She also uses her experience in food science to give back through the George Washington Carver Food Research Institute, connecting food, agriculture, wellness, education, and economic growth to help build healthier communities and create opportunities for the next generation. Today, we're talking food, fasting, marriage, money, retirement, real estate, and what decades of intentional living can teach us about creating a healthier future. Y'all help me welcome Angela Cauley. How you doing?
I'm great, Joshua. Whoever you were just introducing sounds amazing. So thank you for having her on, right?
Oh yeah, you are amazing. That was a mouthful of an intro. I was running out of breath as I was saying it, but I had to get it all out there for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you for getting everything right except for one thing. Because one of the things that you emphasized was the real estate. We actually did do real estate very early on in our marriage. I think most people have heard of that book. Oh gosh, what was it? There was a book that always talked about like buying real estate, right?
Yeah.
Like had that income coming in through real estate. And we tried, like we had a couple of different homes and that we found out real quick that just wasn't for us, right? Getting those calls at night all the time, dead cats ending up underneath the house, smelling up everything, just trying to figure out where that came from. People leaving their bathtub, water running, creating like holes in the ceiling and you getting those calls. We were like, this is not for us. Richard Kiyosaki, that's what Rich Dad, Poor Dad, that was the book that I'm referring to. Everybody read that book and was like, I'm about to be a real estate mogul. And for some people, that's their gift. And I'm like, do you, right? But that wasn't us. We are agriculture people. My husband actually went to college and studied ag economics, and I studied food science. We had mentors, both of us. His mentor was Bill Williams, who was one of 4 people that actually started Glory Foods. And my Bill was Bill Mays, who actually did chemical distribution. So we had 2 Black male role models who were entrepreneurs in the food space and helped us to kind of get our feet underneath us, get us trained, and helped us to eventually go into our own business that we sold. And I retired at 49 and my husband was 51. So it is an average age of 50, but yes.
I mean, that makes it even better. So the fact that you tried real estate, you didn't succeed, that just makes you human. And the fact
Not to say we didn't succeed, we didn't choose. So we had those businesses for like 2 years, right? And then we sold them.
Because your heart wasn't in it, is what it sounds like.
Our heart wasn't, it just was not for us. It was not for us. So.
Well, you still retired before 50, which that would have been even more powerful of an intro. But I do want to take it all the way back to the beginning. So talk about who you are as a person, like growing up in Columbus, Ohio.
Correct. I'm a Midwest girl. I grew up in a very middle class family, two-parent household until I was in high school. My parents actually did divorce. But my dad was always part of our life, right? So even though I lived with my mom, my dad still remained in Columbus, Ohio. He always supported us, came to all of our sporting events, athletic events, academic events, spent all the holidays with us. So they made it clear that the fact that their marriage didn't necessarily work out. It didn't necessarily mean it was because of anything that we did in our lives.
Right.
They tried to keep as constant and consistent as it was prior to the split. But my dad, growing up, got a PhD, and my mom got a high school diploma. So there was a huge dichotomy in terms of the education level between my parents, which I think in some ways did not help to create and sustain a healthy marriage for them because there was a huge difference.
Yeah.
And I learned very early on the importance of education, the importance of hard work, the importance of doing the and then some. And that is the things that you do in the quiet when nobody else is watching to help you to just be the best person that you can. Like most Black children growing up, our parents always, shared with us, you have to be better than everybody else. So you need to do the things that's going to be required, that hard work, in order to be successful. So what did that look like? Growing up, my dad was an educator, amongst other things. And when school let out, I was in his classroom. So that meant going to the
Mm.
library, getting books, writing book reports for him, doing math facts all the time. From the academic perspective, that was always school never ended for us. And then for my mom, being that homemaker, there was always a chore or something that we had to do in terms of weeding the flower bed, cleaning out the refrigerator, cleaning
Hmm.
baseboards, like just even I had a day off of school. My mom was like, guess what you get to do? I don't want to do that. I
Yep.
want to do me. But I learned very early on that like we worked in the house, we worked in school, we worked in athletics, and that really helped to shape me into the person that I am today.
So you told me something in our phone conversation a couple days ago that you naturally eat once a day, and we call it intermittent fasting. So how did you get to that point? You said you grew up like that, or
You know what? I met my husband. Actually, wasn't when I met my husband. When we entered into our courtship, I was 28 years old. And I had had a degree, 2 degrees in food science and had been working in the industry for a number of years. And then I looked at him and I'm just like, wow, you're beautiful. Like, what are you doing? And he was just like, well, I only eat one meal a day and I eat mainly plants and vegetables, um, and fish. And I was like, well, you know what? If it works for you, I'm going to try it for me. And on January 1st, 2000, I adopted that lifestyle of actually eating one meal a day. And every other day, or every other, I strive like once we actually figure out how do you eat once a day, then you master that and try to eat once every 48 hours. And then once you master that, you might go on to eating once every 72 hours. And supposedly, if you do that, you will never be sick a day in your life, right?
yeah. I've
Yeah.
done very minimal research on intermittent fasting, and I do try to do a version of it, which I fail at sometimes, where I eat between a window of 12 p.m. and 6 p.m. But I
Hmm.
kind of talk about the benefits of intermittent fasting from what you've researched and then also what you've experienced.
Yeah. So I don't know. Do you see the shine?
I do.
So, number one, I feel lighter. I'm healthier. My weight is under control. When I go to the doctor and get all of my analysis done once a year, and typically 95% of the time, everything is exactly where it needs to be.
Hmm.
I tend to not get sick. And when I do get sick, the illnesses that affect me don't affect me in such a way where I'm like down and out, right?
Right.
I have clear thoughts. I have a lot of energy. And at 54 years old, I just feel really, really good. And there have been some studies that came out, one in particular that was actually done on mice, where they fed one group of mice like 3 meals a day. And then the group that they fed one meal a day actually lived and had vitality. And the ones that were eating multiple times a day, they died. So there was a
Mm.
huge difference between The mice that were fed a typical diet, right? That we eat, like breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Eat
Yeah.
3 times a day, eat like that fourth meal at Taco Bell and get that snack, right?
Yep.
Um, I eat once a day, like, and it hasn't killed me yet, right? When my mom first found out that I ate 1 meal a day, she was like, "Oh my God, you're gonna die." And I'm just like, it's been 26 years,
Right. So, like,
right?
what do you say to people who might be listening to this and they'll say, "Well, we grew up learning that we need to eat 3 square meals a day," and you just said something about how Taco Bell promotes their 4th meal, like, they're always shoving food down our throats. What would you say to those people who don't believe in intermittent fasting?
You know what? I don't pass judgment. I always, say put a clean glass next to, a dirty glass and then just see what happens, right? You just be the example and you show compassion because it's not that I'm better than anybody else. I'm just making choices that actually help me to live, a life that's best for me. I would say try it. Give yourself 30 days to try it because that's how long it actually takes to make, a change, right? A habit.
Yep,
And if it doesn't work for you, I would be very, very surprised, right? But one of the things that goes along with fasting, it's not just the health benefits, but it's also that the fortitude, that's built inside of you. Like if you can resolve yourself to resist the call of food, hunger is a natural calling, right? So if you can overcome that desire, that pull for food, then what else can you overcome? You can overcome that desire to smoke, or you can overcome that desire to drink, or you can just build up your resistance and just your fortitude to be able to do things that you wouldn't necessarily be able to do otherwise. So it's not just a physical impact that fasting has on you, but you're also building up your mental stability, your strength, your capacity, your fortitude to be able to push through other obstacles that aren't easy.
facts. So I have to ask this. A lot of people don't know what a food scientist is. So talk about how you became interested in becoming a food scientist and then exactly what it is.
Okay, so like most people, I wasn't aware that food science was actually a career until I turned 18 years old and had the opportunity to work at a food company, Ross Products Division of Abbott in Columbus, Ohio. They make Similac and Ensure and Pedialyte and all those type of medical nutritional foods that you find in hospitals and on store shelves. Um, just like most people, we go into careers that our parents know about, right? Because growing up, my mom and dad were like, "You're smart. You can either be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer." And that's pretty much where life stopped for them. That's what they knew. And I'm grateful for my parents for giving me the opportunity to have a good foundation when it came to my education and my work ethic, like we talked. Um, my mom, when I turned 18, actually bought me a suit and some heels, and she said, "I need you to go get a job because grown-ups don't live in my house without working," right? So
Mhm.
if I wasn't at school, then I was gonna be working, and that's exactly what I did. And I was fortunate enough, even though I had decided for myself out of my 3 options, I was gonna become a medical doctor because as a gymnast, I thought, what would be better than going into sports medicine as an athlete? So that was kind of the natural path for me. And it wasn't until I got into the lab and actually started working with food scientists and discovered like this is a thing that I determined that this is the path that I wanted to go down. And so, what is a food scientist? I think maybe the bigger question is what aren't we, right? Because food scientists, we do a lot of amazing things. So when you go to a store and you actually see food on the shelf, it is a food scientist that was responsible, or at least one of the careers that was responsible for actually getting it there. When people find out I'm a food scientist, they're like, "Oh my god, that's so amazing. You're so interesting." And I am, right? Because I was lucky enough to actually choose food scientist as a career.
Yep.
But you can be a dairy scientist, you could actually be an animal scientist, you can actually study sensory science, you can be a food microbiologist, you could be a product developer, you can do food safety, food quality, you can specialize in protein chemistry, you can do like starch chemistry, fat chemistry, vitamins and minerals. There are so many different aspects about food. And there's a lot of different rabbit holes that you can go down just to call yourself a food scientist, but it all kind of works, right? So it's really the science and understanding of just how do we actually get food from the ground and keep it stable and keep it safe and make it taste good for the consumer.
So you've been in the industry for 30 years, and I was at the camp that you hosted here in Kalamazoo for 2 days, and I feel like I learned a lot. One of my misconceptions is, like, when I read the back of ingredients, I
Mhm.
see, like, these 25-letter words, I'm just like, "Well, this must be poison."
Right.
But you kinda talk about what some of those ingredients are, why those ingredients are there, and, some of the biggest misconceptions about food labels.
That's a really good question because oftentimes people will look at certain words and they're like, oh my God, what is that? But it might just be a vitamin, right?
So why
You
not just
just,
say, like, vitamin B, vitamin like
because and I'm not a regulatory person, so I can't necessarily tell you like law state that you have to say this in a certain way. But I would imagine there are regulatory laws that actually stipulate just how you can actually say the product is or represent a product on a label. So when you look at labels, you're either going to see things from the most to the least, or
mhm,
you can actually do it from the least to the most. When you have things like seasoning blends, you don't necessarily have to say like this is like exactly what it is. I mean, you give a little bit of enough color where people can't sit up there and take your ideas and like completely reverse engineer it, like you're not giving away your formula, right?
right,
You have to say, what it is, where it was manufactured. There's a lot code, so there's traceability. There's a nutrition fact statement that's on there so that you can find out like these are this is what's in it. These are how many calories. This is a typical serving size. There are specific ingredients that you have to call out, like your fats, your lipids, your proteins, your sodium level, trans fats, and then some basic ingredients that are markers for your health. But one of the things that is really interesting, I mean, we've taken so many organic chemistry classes, like science classes, and food science is very, very heavy in science, that you obviously do learn what these chemicals are and what they say and what they mean. And it's kind of a flex to be able to like read something and say, oh, this is how you say this, right?
yeah,
Not all ingredients are bad, but not all ingredients are the most healthful, right? So one of the things I always tell people, try to eat foods that have very short ingredients, statements, and make sure that you're comfortable with the things that are in there. Make sure that you're eating to live for yourself. So understanding if it's gluten free, if it contains certain ingredients that are like no good for you, make sure that you understand like what those look like, understand where different ingredients come from. So if you're a person who doesn't eat pork and you might see gelatin on the label statement and automatically assume that this is pork gelatin, it might not be pork gelatin, it might come from a beef. So you have to always kind of be clear. And if you don't know, it's in your right to call that food company and ask the questions, right? But one of the things that I do believe in is just eating as clean as possible, eating whole foods,
yeah,
when you can, trying to grow your own foods, um, and get back in the kitchen and actually start cooking.
absolutely to that, and we'll get to that because I wanna talk about your meal prepping and everything, but I know with me, scrolling on social media, it seems
Mhm.
like every day there's, like, a new food villain, like, carbs are bad or seed oils are bad, don't eat this, don't eat that. So, like, as an actual food scientist, like, how do you separate, like, legitimate information from, like, the health trends and, like, misinformation?
You constantly study, right? So there are certain things that we learned when we were in college about food science that I'm just now starting to see today, and I'm like, oh, people don't know that. And it's interesting because sometimes you see people on the internet and they talk strong, right? They're saying things with their chest, like they really know what they're talking about because they say things with such conviction, and you're like, that's not right.
You're
You
right.
know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's absolutely false. Like, I've said that a couple of times, and sometimes I'll shoot it over to some of my girlfriends who are scientists too, and I'm just like, "Did you see this?"
yeah,
Yeah, so, you have to be very careful to do the research for yourself, and you can't necessarily just take things for fact just because somebody got on social media and actually said something that is actually true. Now, on the flip side, you can't sit up there and think that everything that's on social media is false too. But I tend to only share things that I've actually done some research on, or I'll send a note to a colleague, a trusted colleague that actually, has been in the industry and, has the experience and the degrees to kind of back it up and just kind of fact check, right?
yeah.
But again, one of the things, if you look behind me, all these books that I have, I constantly read,
Mm.
constantly read. That's how you're able to make informed decisions, for yourself and your family. Yeah.
So you describe yourself as like a plant forward or having a plant forward diet. So like what does that mean for you? Like what's actually on your plate and why is it plant forward and not plant based?
Ah, you know what? Because I do eat on occasion fish. Mainly, I would say 95% of my diet consists of either the navy bean, red lentils, brown lentils, um, grains like brown rice, quinoa, sometimes fonio, and then also just fruits and vegetables. Like that is my jam. Once a week, I will make a pot of soup, and that's where my main protein source actually comes from. And then I pair that soup with like some kind of a grain. And then I make vegetables the star of all of my meals. And so it's interesting that when we think about when they say like somebody is plant based, again, it looks like a plate that has a quarter of your protein is going to come from plant based. A quarter of your plate is actually going to come from a whole grain, and then the other half of your plate is going to be a combination of fruits and vegetables, and that's pretty much the formula that I use when I prepare my meals.
Do you get hungry? I can just picture somebody hearing that and saying, well, I would
Oh my
still be
god, like,
hungry.
every day,
Well,
like,
I guess,
by 2 o'clock every day, I'm, like, calling my husband, like, "Are you hungry?" And he's like, "Yeah, every day."
well, what I mean by that is like, do you stay hungry? Like, based off what you put on your plate, do you get
Oh,
full? Are you
oh,
satisfied with what's on
oh,
your plate?
yes. Joshua, look, have you been to my social media and actually seen my plates? Because sometimes I will, put on, like, "This is what I ate today." Yes, and as a matter of fact, because
Hmm.
I eat a lot of plants, I can eat a lot of it, right? Because the caloric density in plants is a lot smaller than when you have like your fats and your meat. So you might be able to eat this much, right? I
Hmm.
can eat a
Yeah.
whole plate of vegetables, and I eat until I'm satisfied.
And that fills your body with good benefits more than fills it with things that will work against your body.
Right. I'm not sluggish. I'm very light on my feet. If you were to see us when we're out at a party, we are on that dance floor from the moment we get there to the moment they shut it down. We're like for 3 or 4 hours and we don't take breaks because we've got that energy.
Mm,
Um, yeah, no, I do get hungry just because, again, whenever you're driving down the street and somebody opens up that flute and all of a sudden you're passing by a Burger King and you're smelling that meat and it's just delicious. It's craveable. And you're
yeah.
like, oh my gosh, I'm hungry, right? Um, but I have trained myself over the last 26 years to try my best to strive to eat that one meal. Now, it's different when you're pregnant, you eat more than once because you're giving
Yeah.
birth, right? And when you're breastfeeding, and I breastfed for like 2 years, I ate more than one meal a day because I was a milk factory. I was producing, food for my daughter to sustain her. But other than that, yeah, you do get hungry, but again, when we talk about overcoming hunger, you just kind of you push through it. You go to work, and you just do what you need to do until, that 4 o'clock hour, that bewitching hour, because that's when I eat between the hours of 4 and 6
Okay.
every day.
So, quick question, selfishly for myself, like I
Yeah.
said, I try to do between like 12 p.m. and 6 p.m.
Hmm.
Is that beneficial or is that too large of a window? Because you just said 4 to 6.
I think so. And the bigger question for you, Joshua, is how do you feel? How do you feel when you don't eat? And how do you feel when you do eat? Have you noticed a difference in yourself?
To be honest, and I think I told you offline, like my wife and I did a 10-day juice fast
Mm-hmm.
where all we did was fresh squeezed fruits and vegetables. So after that, I don't even eat 3 meals a day.
Mm-hmm.
But mentally, like before 12 p.m., I'm good. It's
Mm-hmm.
after 6 p.m. where I kind of struggle, where I do want a snack or something to like chew on. And like I said, sometimes I succeed, sometimes I don't. But
Mm-hmm.
succeeding every day between that 12 to 6 is a good start.
I think it's a great start. I do.
That's good to hear. That's good to
Yeah, it
hear.
is. And don't think that sometimes, I don't go into that cabinet and I'm like looking at those chips and being like, oh my God. And
Yeah, yeah,
sometimes I win and sometimes I don't. It is what it is, right?
yeah.
One thing I will say, back in January, I got these liners, these
Hmm.
Invisaliners. And I keep telling people these things are gold. Like, who needs Ozempic when you have liners? Because these are like a chastity belt for your mouth. Because
Yeah.
once you're supposed to wear these for 22 hours a day. So I
Mm,
take them out in the morning to drink a cup of coffee, and then I go through the whole let's floss, rinse, brush, do all the things, disinfect my liners, put them back in, and I'm not taking them out again until it's time to eat. And just
right.
the fact that I had to take them in, take them out, and go through that whole process of cleaning my teeth and cleaning the liners to put them back in, and then I think, is this chip worth it? I'm like, they're not. So I think somebody could actually make a lot more money creating these things, like a physical barrier that would make you think twice, like it's just going through all of that, it's just not even worth it for me.
It,
So since I got these, I lost a good 3 pounds and consistently kept it off.
you also talk about like meal prepping as well. Like that helps you from like falling victim to those cravings. So how do you again? This is selfish for me. Like, how do you meal prep every? I think you said Sunday night without
Sunday.
skipping without
Yeah.
skipping it.
So when I think on Saturday, I ask my husband, because we're empty nesters at this point, what is it that you want to eat this week? And so we'll kind of come up with, well, I might want veggie wraps, or I might want like a garlic naan pizza, or I might want like a Mexican bowl, or whatever it is. And so then we actually take a look at our freezer, we look at our pantry, we look at our refrigerator, we look in our garden, and we find out, like, in order to support this meal for this week, these are the things that we're going to need. So we take that list with us to the store. And it's important that you go to the store with the list, because if you don't, everything that you see is going to be like, I want this, I want this, I want that. And you do impulse buying. And in this day
Yeah,
and age, impulse buying is not a good thing because groceries are so expensive. So
very.
if I know that I'm going to be producing things, making or using like the same ingredients, then it's like, okay, I'm going to need 2 yellow onions for this, right? I'm going to need 3 different peppers for that. And I kind of get an overview of all the things that I'm going to need for that week, and I bring them home. So then on Sunday, say I'm actually featuring like a lentil soup for the week, right, for my protein. And from that lentil soup, I can actually make like a bowl. I can make a burrito. I can make a pizza. I can actually make a meatball. There's all these different things that you can create just based off of that pot of soup, or you could just have soup, right? So
Yeah,
I'll look at making the soup and how do I use my onions? I might dice them, right? But then if I'm actually making rice to go with it, I typically use onions in my rice too, along with carrots, which I also use in my soup. So when you're prepping everything all at the same time. So it's one prep, one cleanup. It might be a different cut, but it's the same ingredient, right? And same prep.
yeah.
So I will cook my soup, I will cook my rice, and those two things are done on Saturday. I'm not sorry, on Sunday. And that represents half of my plate. Now, we also might clean our lettuce, right, and store that properly so that it stays crisp. We
Yep.
might cut up some of our vegetables so that we can marinate those and have those developing flavors, right? So then if we get to Monday, Monday is like, okay, we're going to have soup, we have rice, and then whatever marinated vegetables, I'll just throw those in the oven, roast those, and then finish prepping, your salad, and then cut up a piece of fruit, and then all of a sudden you have a plate in under 20 minutes.
For somebody whose diet is like completely different from yours, but they do want to change, what's
Mhm.
one change that you would recommend them doing like today? Instead of trying to do everything overnight, what's one specific change?
So if you're eating 4 meals a day, one change today might look like eating 3 meals, right? And then going down to 2 meals, but never jump from doing 4 meals going down to 1. Like, give yourself grace, do a stair-step effect. If you're interested in eating more vegetables, then, maybe pick 1 day a week where you're like, "You know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and eat vegetables for this week or for this particular day." It's small changes that have good impact over, an extended period of time, and you have to be consistent. And if you're not, then you forgive yourself. Don't beat yourself up and say, "Okay, for a whole week, I was not successful. I'm just not gonna try this anymore." Every day is a new day, right? So every day is an opportunity to try to do something different.
Absolutely. Now, your work with the GWC, I believe it also incorporates like mindfulness and
Mhm.
wellness.
Yeah.
When did you realize like being healthy? involve more than just what's on your plate.
I think I've always known that, because like I said, growing up, I was a gymnast. So
Mm,
gymnastics, the sport of gymnastics is not something that you do for a couple of months out of the year and that's it, right? So you have your training season, you have your competing season, and then it kind of rolls back over and over and over again. And that was pretty much my life from elementary school until ninth grade, right? And again, my dad was my coach. So I was doing handstand push-ups. He was like going around the neighborhood, actually, tracking out like this is what a mile looks like or 2 miles looks like. So I would be running.
mm,
He actually built me a balance beam and it was out in the backyard during the summertime, the warmer months. And then he put it in the house in the colder months because it gets cold in Ohio and in Michigan, as you know. So working out, reading, studying, eating healthy foods was just something. I won't say eating healthy foods was always a part of it. I think my parents fed me what they thought was the best thing for me. Like my mom grew up in Kentucky on a pig farm.
yeah.
So there was a time, when I was eating chitterlings, right? And
Oof.
bacon and pepperoni
Yeah.
on my pizza and salami and all the things until I met my husband. And he was just like, are you serious right now? Like, are you really like, I can remember we had just entered into our courtship and he came over to my mom's house because I was visiting. I was living in New Jersey at the time, but I was in Columbus visiting with my mom for Christmas.
Yeah.
And in preparation for the new year, Black people were like, we need to have pork, right? And black eyed peas as a cultural tradition, for the new year. So it was just like the chitterlings were in full effect.
Yep.
It was just like my mom was cleaning them and he was just like, I'm about to be ill because he had never had pork before.
Oh, he's
And
never had pork.
no, because his parents were like, this is what we're not doing. And it wasn't
Mhm.
for religious reasons. They just didn't believe in eating pork, right?
Yeah.
Once I came off of pork, right? Once I started eating the way that he did, I had gone to Germany maybe 3 or 4 months into cutting pork out of my diet because I was learning how to make candy in Germany.
Okay.
And our host took us to this really quaint restaurant that only had the menus were in German. And I explained to them what I ate and what I didn't eat. And they were like, oh, okay, like we're going to order for you. Well, whatever they ordered actually had bacon renderings in it, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't realize it until I'm eating it. And I'm like, wait a minute, something's off. Like, something's off. Stop eating this immediately. And come to find out that it actually did contain some pork. When I tell
Mm.
you, things were coming out of every hole in my body, my stomach locked up. It was just,
Yeah.
and that was off of just not eating pork for 3 or 4 months, right?
Your
It was
body
so,
cleans and gets used to that clean diet.
one more time for the people in the back.
Your body cleans everything out and gets used to the clean diet. S
Correct. And so that's another way that you can consistently stay on this path
Yeah,
because once you start treating your body better, your body will not allow you to make those changes to go back without letting you know, like, something is not right here.
absolutely. And I always equate it to, like, if you're ever walking and you have a rock in your shoe, it's almost fine until you take off your shoe and dump that pebble out and you realize there's a relief.
Mhm.
Like,
But you immediately know that there's something wrong when that pebble says you're just like, "Let me take the shoe off and get this pebble off." And it's amazing because it's small, right?
yeah,
But it can still cause a huge amount of discomfort. And that's
absolutely.
the same way that I say when it comes to eating differently. So even if sometimes, like, if I'm on vacation and I'm like, "Ooh, this breakfast looks good," or we're sitting by the pool and you're like and somebody comes up to you and they're like, "Would you like to have, this?" Or, "We
Yep.
got these nachos," or, "We got these fish tacos," and it's just like at 12 o'clock, and you're just like, "Well, I shouldn't, but I'm on vacation, so why not?" Like, right? And
Yeah,
so you're eating multiple times and your body's like and you feel it. So every time we come home, Joshua, it's just like 72-hour fast because we need to get back to our normal homeostasis and the way that we eat because
yeah.
our bodies actually feel better when we support them with that one meal a day.
Now I do wanna transition to your marriage and your husband. And I wish he could have been on here too, but I just know from briefly meeting him, he does not like being on camera.
Nope,
So
not at all.
you've been married for what was it? I know it's like 25 years. So is that's coming up soon, right?
September
September what?
20th, 29th, September 29th. My daughter was born on the
Okay.
20th, September 29th, 25 years.
Okay. My wife and I are September 26th, so I was just checking. But
Congratulations. How many years is this for
thank you.
y'all?
It will be in September. It will be 11.
Congratulations.
Yes. So with me being at 11 and you being at 25, what is some advice? Like, what is keeping you guys together after almost 2 decades or
Yeah.
above 2 decades?
Yeah. Now, okay, it sounds cheesy to say this, but putting God first is absolutely probably the most important thing for us.
Yeah.
And giving each other space to be the people that we were put on this earth to do. So he has gifts and a purpose in life. I have gifts and a purpose in life. And we're both striving to be and to fulfill that purpose and leave the legacy that God put us on this earth, the things that he called us to do. So that's first and foremost. The other thing too is making sure that we understand what our roles are.
Yeah.
And people might say this is very Leave It to Beaver-ish, right?
Yeah.
But I love being a woman and I love being a wife and I love having specific roles in my marriage, in my family, and it works for us. So for example, I'm the first doctor, right? So if somebody gets sick, I'm the one who's in the kitchen actually creating meals that are going to be helpful to help, bring vitality back to my family.
Yeah.
I was the first educator. So when we were raising our children, I was working with our kids, and Ian was too, to make sure that they were prepared, overly prepared for success in the classroom. Um, I love expressing that femininity with my husband.
Yeah.
I like him opening doors for me and, being kind and treating me and protecting me and doing the things that he's responsible for. Um, so I think that's probably the biggest thing other than us wanting to be married to one another. That's
Mm.
key. So when things don't necessarily work out because there is no perfect marriage,
Right.
there's going to be rubs because we're different. We process things differently. But at the end of the day, we don't argue. And we learned that very early on. My husband has always been the person to say, like, if there's something that we're not in agreement on, you don't just come into that conversation without having at least three solutions for us to try to figure out, like, how are we going to deal with the situation, right? So,
I like that.
yeah. So it's you go into a conversation with a cool head, right? So you're not overly emotional because when you're overly emotional, you're bound to say some things that you can't take back. That can be very hurtful. So you kind of think through like understanding I'm going into this conversation wanting to resolve this because I love this person and I want to be with this person. And here are the three or conclusions that we can take this path, or this path to try to figure out um, what we're going to do to solve this situation. So I think that is the biggest thing for us.
Absolutely. So, like,
Yeah.
after 25 years, what's something about marriage that you understand now that you didn't understand as a newlywed?
That you're going to change, right?
Mm.
Angela I think I got married at 29 is not the same as Angela at 54. We've been through a lot of life. Um,
Yeah.
and not only have we been through a lot of life together, but just as a woman, I've changed. So my body has changed. I'm from 20s to 30s to 40s to now 50s. Um, things just, they don't look the same. They don't act the same. They don't rebound the same.
Yep.
They're just different. They're different. And I
So,
can't speak for my husband and how his body has changed, but I'm just saying just menopause and I haven't even started menopause yet, which is kind of crazy to me, right? Because a lot of my friends been there and done that. And at 54, I'm just kind of like, what's wrong with me? And my daughter's just like, it's because you're healthy.
I was just
That's
about
why.
Yeah.
And I always say, "So I'm being punished because I'm healthy?" Like, but it's all
You
good.
you gotta look at it different though. Is that a punishment? Because
It's
what we
not a
look at is
punishment.
yeah, we
It's
look at
not.
it like
It's
that's the norm, but maybe you shouldn't. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not gonna speak on that. But
Joshua, all I'm saying is sometimes I look at my girlfriends that have been through everything and they're like, "Oh, I had hot flashes, my memory, I couldn't sleep, I gained weight, like my libido, like all these things happen." And I'm just kind of like, "Yeah, I guess that sucks too."
yeah, there's a lot of things in society we look at as normal that
Mhm.
don't necessarily have to be normal.
Mhm.
Like a lot of my friends talk about, oh, my knees and back hurt. I'm like, bro, we're 30. I'm 36. I still play basketball, soccer. Like I'm still very active. I'm not who I was when I was like 16 or 20, but like my knees and my back are not stopping me from being active.
And you know what? And so the things that you're doing now are going to have a direct impact on when you get to be my age. So make good choices because just know that there's a cause and effect. And the choices again that you're making now are going to have a direct effect on what life is going to look like. So again, eating healthy, moving, getting enough rest, feeding your mind, your spirit, your emotional health, going to do check-ins. I do therapy like whenever I feel like I need a reset.
So now I do have to talk about this because you casually told me that you retired at 50, which I'm now finding out is 49. So when did retiring that young become an actual goal, or did it just like spring up on you? Like, how did that happen?
So we had a business called Coalescence. We manufactured seasoning blends, vitamin premixes, human grade pet food, anything that you could actually put into a blender, we blended. And this is actually a picture from when we were in Black Enterprise. I
Hmm.
think back in 2012, we were the small Black business of the year that year. When you go into business, you always go into business with the end in mind, right? So is it going to be a legacy business where it's going to go on for in perpetuity and get passed down through generations? Or is it going to be a business where it's a lifestyle where you're taking your profits and pouring into yourself and not necessarily always pouring it back into the business? Or are you trying to grow a business that you can eventually sell and move on with your life?
Yeah.
So when my husband and I started our business back in like 2005 or 2006, we always had the end goal in mind that this was our retirement. Like this is what we wanted to do to, work hard and then retire. And
Yeah.
then take the money that we made to be able to reinvest in other businesses that, had a dream, just like we had a dream and people invested in us. So for 17 years of our life, we raised children, we grinded. We didn't take vacations. We weren't buying the luxury cars. Um, we were doing everything that we could, probably working 6 to 7 days out of every week, traveling 60% of the time to see clients, taking salary cuts so that we could bring on additional associates that had skill sets that were going to help us get to that next level. And we put everything into our business. So this was our 401k, this was our retirement, this was our plan in order to retire. So if this didn't work out, then I'd probably still be working, to this day.
Yeah.
One of the things I will say was failure was not an option for us. So everything that we did with the mindset of what do we need to do to live another day to be successful so that we can like get to this endpoint, which we did. We actually sold our business at the height of COVID, May 2021. So 5 years ago, we just celebrated our 5 year anniversary with that. But when I tell you it was not easy, there were so many situations and learnings and obstacles and opportunities that we could probably fill like 10 books. And
Yeah.
every time something happened that we were like, okay, that's going to be a chapter, right? That's a
Yep.
chapter in our book. Because a lot of times people think entrepreneurship is easy and it's glamorous, and it's not. It's
No.
not at all. Um,
No.
it the 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 first And the 15th hits a lot differently when you're writing checks, right? To pay people versus when you're receiving checks. Um,
Yes.
and I can remember a defining moment in our business. I was actually still working for Bill Mays at Mays Chemical Company, and he was my mentor. And he was also our angel investor. So the beautiful thing with him, I worked for him for about 7 years, but and I was a salesperson. So I was able to kind of learn the business as a scientist, learn what entrepreneurship was all about, make contacts, and learn and fail right on somebody else's dime. When we started our business, he wrote us a check and he said, I need you to continue working for me while your husband goes out there and builds the business up because somebody has to have insurance. Somebody has to get a paycheck and be able to pay the bills.
Right.
But the distinction was he still enabled me to not only work for him, but work for myself at the same time. So he would always say, when you make a sales call for me, then you go right back in that door and make a sales call for you. And every time I
Mm.
would go to the office, he would say, well, how's business doing? And I would always say, oh, I sold this and we're doing that, for Maze Chemical. And he was just like, I know what's going on at Maze. Tell me what's going on with Coalescence. And so I would kind of, talk to him about life and challenges and what we needed. Um, he was an angel. He wasn't just an angel investor. He was just an angel, period. And he cared about my emotional health as well as our financial stability because obviously he had written a check, so he was invested in our investment.
Right.
But he would enable us to, go to his house in Puerto Rico and just have a respite where it was just me and Ian just kind of recharging, loving on one another, like trying to figure out how we develop that fortitude so we could live to see another day, right? He
Yeah.
sat on a couple of bank boards. So when it was difficult, because a huge challenge for Black businesses is being able to access capital, he would at least be able to kind of smooth the path for us to be able to have conversations for them to even consider taking a look at our business portfolio and our business plan to try to figure out like give them a line of credit because that was necessary. In some cases, he would also allow us to buy ingredients from him and give us extended payment terms because cash wasn't flowing like we necessarily needed it to. So there were a lot of things that went on with having a business that oftentimes people don't necessarily think about. They just see us, being on Black enterprise and they're like, oh my God, you're amazing. And it's just like, this stuff is hard. Like,
Yeah.
this is really, really hard. You find out what you're made of when you run a business. And again, we were both in the business together. So it was just like, this is it. So I saw him when I woke up. We went to work together. We came home together. We talked about business after dinner, after we put the kids to bed, and we did it all over again, 7 days a week for 17 years.
Mm. And that, I mean, being that invested, not obviously not only in the marriage, but you guys had investment in your kids, investment in your future, investment in the business. So that kind of probably made you have that mindset like there's no plan B, there's no exit plan.
And
This is who
Joshua, but listen, I'm an athlete. I was a winner anyway, right? And so was my
Hey,
husband. So we're not losing, right? So we went
yes.
into everything with everything that we had, sacrificing, working, praying, loving each other, and listening to hip hop. That was another thing. It was
Hey.
so funny. Like we'd be in the car, right? And we say our prayer, like, God, please, please, give us the words to make us successful, change the minds of these people so that it goes into our favor. And like, we're saying our prayer and we're like this. And then we throw on like DMX and we'd be like, ah. And then we go in there,
Balance,
TV
balance.
height. And then we go in there and like, let's go get this money.
Yes. Hey, I love to hear it. So after obviously you ended up winning, like you talked about, and after doing that and being able to like selling your business and then being able to retire, what
Mhm.
made you guys turn around and then start the GWC?
Oh, so we started GWC back in 2013.
Okay.
So it was just a continuation. It has always kind of been there. And it's necessary because so many people that grow up in urban environments, they are not connected to the earth anymore, right? Like we used to be.
Yeah.
So whenever I walked through doors and people looked at me and they were like, is there a diversity initiative at your company? Like, that's how I found out what diversity and inclusion was all about because I worked at a large chemical company when I first came out of college.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, oh, you're qualified, right? It was, oh, they must have a diversity initiative as to the reason why you, as a Black woman, is here calling on me.
Mm.
And I remember thinking, no, it's because I have 2 degrees in food science and I've been in the industry, for a number of years and I'm qualified, overly qualified for this role. And that's why I'm here.
Tell the people listening a little bit about what the GWC is. Why did you create it, and why was it important?
So the George Washington Carver Food Research Institute, you see me, right? The seed is
Yes.
all about planting seeds of inspiration into fertile minds, right? So we have 3 different platforms. The first one that you're familiar with is our Future Food Pros, and that's truly about introducing urban children, teens, and college students to different career pathways in the food industry. Um, because again, when I was growing up, my parents didn't know to tell me about the food industry. And so the food industry was really, really good for me and my husband. So everything that we learned through the years that we were in this industry, we pour into these academies called Explore Ag STEAM, where it's more than just, we don't even call it a camp, we call it an academy. And it's like a small MBA. And typically it was a 2-week period. This year we did like a 1-week session. But we take them starting off with self-discovery, like, who are you as a person? I believe in truly understanding what a person's passion and their purpose is, like, why are you here on this earth? And that helps to shape what you want to do, with your life. Because they
Yeah.
say if you're actually doing the Lord's work, then you don't work a day in your life. You're actually like fulfilling your prophecy for what it is that you're here for. So we start the academy off on like teaching people about themselves, independent of their parents, so that they truly understand at their core who they are and what is important to them. Then we introduce them to the different careers that are involved in creating a product. And then from those days forward, we introduce them to a client that actually gives them a problem that they have to solve. And then we look through the lens of all these different careers that actually takes it from an idea to a finished product. And then they compete with their peers to see who actually came up with the best concept and actually could articulate what that business solution was. But then the second part is what we call Nourish Wellness, and that's a holistic approach to health. And that's where we do food as medicine training. So we will, for teenagers to through adults, look at the science behind foods. How do we prepare foods? Let's talk genetic modification. Let's look at cellular biology. Let's look at how ingredients show up. Let's look at how food is grown. We actually look at it from not only a nutrition perspective, but just the science behind the food and what we're eating as food as medicine. And then I'm also a yoga instructor. So, the whole journaling, breath work, movement, um, even how we actually are mindful when we're eating. Like I
Yeah.
do sessions for people, anybody that wants to learn. I'm like, let's go.
Mm. I love it. So,
Yeah.
with everything we talked about, with everything that you lived your life for,
Yeah.
what does live good, feel better mean to you?
You know what, Joshua? It's a continual journey because every day is not going to be a live good, feel good day. But every day that we're blessed to open our eyes and set our feet on this earth is a day that I start off with gratitude. So it means to me taking the opportunity to not waste a day that God has given me, right? So at the end of the day, when I'm in my final resting place after I make my transition and somebody's just like, we're celebrating her because she lived good, she feels better. She at least approached life with the mentality and the spirit of trying to leave this world a better place, not only for herself and her family, but for everybody that comes into contact with her. And the world is hopefully going to be a little better as a result of me being here.
I love it. Thank you so much. Before we end this episode, if you can tell people where they can find you, how they can support your organization, any information you want people to be left with.
So you can find me at the George Washington Carver Food Research Institute at GWCFRI.org. That's our website. That's also our Facebook and our Instagram. So please go follow us so that you can find out things that we're doing and support, or tell somebody else about it. So if we come to your city with an academy and you know a young person that you feel could benefit from the information that we're going to be sharing, please help to spread the word. You can also find me on Instagram personally at FoodAngel19 and on Facebook at Angela Cauley. So just my name. And typically what I share there is just, this is what I cooked today. And, or just kind of shouting out other organizations that are doing great work in this community. So that's it. I would love the help, because right now we're small, but we're mighty. The work that we're doing is very beneficial. We have children that had never heard about food science or supply chain or all the different things that go into the food ecosystem that are now in college, getting full ride scholarships, thriving. Some have already started their careers and are doing amazing things in the industry. With you in mind, trying to be that scientist with a thought to be able to create foods that's going to be healthy and healthful for our people. So do good to yourself, help to spread the word, say prayers for us. I guess that's all that I have. And thank you, Joshua, for the opportunity to come and share with your podcast and your network and your family. I appreciate you very much.
Thank you.
And I hope to see you again next June, where we offer our second Explore Academe Academy in Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Yes, I will be there. And thank you for being on the podcast. I know you are busy. If you guys are watching, make sure y'all follow her, go check out her organization, and we will see y'all next episode. Peace. I really hope y'all enjoyed that episode, and show some love to our guests by following them on all their social platforms. And if you want to support Live Good, Feel Better, make sure y'all subscribe on YouTube by searching Live Good, Feel Better Podcast. Also, follow us on Instagram by searching Live Good, Feel Better Pod. But remember, there's an underscore in between each word. Look, I need y'all to leave a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. It really helps the show grow and reach more people. Also, this is a shameless plug. If you are into juicing fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, and just overall health content, follow my personal page, which is Juicing with Josh. Once again, there's an underscore in between each word. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Make sure you come back for the next episode. And remember, do what you can to live good so you feel better. Peace. Ambition, I'ma go after. Obstacles, it don't matter. All action, low chatter, won't slow down, I'ma go faster. More goals that I'll try. Let's scroll on Wi-Fi. No fast food in my gut. More sunshine, cause I'm outside. Only time speaking vocally is in the song, then you gon' see every single thing pan out like my wife cooking and we about to eat. Bank accounts with interest, stocks up when I invest. No updates on my timeline, could care less if you impress. My vision board on Pinterest, I'm praying more when I get stressed. I'm making sure that my kids set. My 2 boys, they been next. Took a break, I'ma get going. I was moving quiet like the wind blowing. Now I'm stomping for my dreams, and I promise you there's no more tiptoeing. Cause ambition, I'ma go after. Obstacles, it don't matter. All action, low chatter, won't slow down, I'ma go faster. More goals that I'll try. Let's scroll on Wi-Fi. No fast food in my gut. More sunshine cause I'm outside.